Hello everybody and welcome. This is the Midnight McBride Show, show number 64. And I'm going to give you a little speech about this show first because I have been trying to make this show happen now for about 5 months. I've had a number of guests that were potentially coming on the show that then decided that it wasn't the show they wanted to do, or they weren't comfortable, and I completely understand that. I've been down lots of different avenues. I actually had a guest that was potentially going to come on again, but then with factors beyond our control, we couldn't make that show happen either. I'm really, really glad we waited because I think finally we're doing this show. It's a show I want to do. It's going to be fascinating. And I think we've got the perfect person to do this show with. I'm very happy. This show is called Amazing Annabel, and I'm going to tell you why. It's because I've got a guest on the show who, a very special lady indeed, and this is Miss Annabel Howe. Annabel.
Hi.
Hi. Welcome, 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 welcome.
It's a pleasure.
I feel like fist pumping and going, yes! I am absolutely delighted that you agreed to do this show. I think it takes courage. I think it's fascinating. It's something I'm fascinated about. I think the synchronicity alignment, I think definitely it didn't happen for a reason. It's because we were waiting for you and you appeared. So I'm absolutely delighted. A couple of things I'll say before we get into it. And that is that I will make mistakes during this show. We discussed it pre-show, and I'm going to do my very best to try to use the terms that you're comfortable with and the correct terms. But I'm going to make mistakes. I'm learning, but that's why we're doing the show. I want to learn. It's something that I'm very, very keen to discuss. And reading your show notes as well, Annabel, even just reading those, I was blushing in places. And that shows me the level of honesty that you're going to come across with. And that's why this show's going to be amazing. So, Amazing Annabel. There was never really any other title. We had a couple of ideas, but that was always going to be the title. So, without further ado, Annabel Howe, welcome onto the show. Thank you.
Welcome, Patrick. Nice to meet you.
It's my pleasure. And we'll start off by saying, and I know you like compliments, but this isn't a compliment. This is me telling the truth. You look amazing.
Thank you.
You do. You look beautiful. So we'll start off with how we met. And this is because of a friend of mine, a very special lady, and she's in the studio. We've got a live studio audience with us today, and that's Miss Sally Bolton. And Sally's a mutual friend, so your friend and my friend also. Sally's been in the studio. She's a regular. We can't get rid of her. She just keeps coming back every week. But Sally actually made this happen, so thanks very much, Sally, for that. Yeah. Okay, so before we get into your life journey, Annabel, which is what this show's about, we talk about somebody's life and how they arrived in this present moment. Well, I'm just going to run a few questions by you first. So, the correct term that we're going to refer to you as, I think, is we're just going to use the term trans, and you're okay with that?
Absolutely.
Okay. There used to be 2 or 3 terms when I was growing up. There's now probably 30 terms and,
And more.
Yeah.
And a lot more.
And it's very easy to offend somebody, and believe me, the last thing I want to do is offend anybody. I'm not trying to. So I'm going to do my very best not to offend anybody, but at least I'm not going to offend you because we talked about it. This is the terms we were going to use. And you are a lady, and I'm going to read this because I want to get this right as well in your name tag. You're a female dealing with transgender dysmorphia. Is that correct?
Dysphoria.
Dysphoria. What is that, Annabel?
I think it's just a thing where you feel your mind and your body don't align.
Yeah.
Okay, you see a different image when you look in the mirror. It doesn't reflect on what you're feeling inside. And I think people have different levels of that, of accepting that.
Yeah.
And you have to deal with it the best way you can. And all of my life, from as far as I know, 5, 6, 7 years of age, I've dealt with it in different ways. The ways that fitted in at that age time, if you like. It's only later on in years where suddenly, it really hits you hard.
Yeah. So it's dysphoria, not dysmorphia. Dysphoria.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right, okay. Like I said, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to try, because that term, the expression, how you described yourself there is new to me, so I'm going to do my best. So we'll start with your journey, and it starts, you're at the age of 5 or 6 years old, and this is maybe the first time when you realise you're a bit different.
It's when you're playing with your sisters and you feel it's quite nice to wear Cinderella's shoes and the little plastic shoes that my sisters used to get for Christmas.
Yeah.
My dad really would not have liked that to have been anything more than just a little bit of fun because he's old school.
Yeah.
But I just realised at that point I really wanted to be part of the girly thing. But having two older brothers as well, they dragged me into being a bit more rougher, harder, football, cricket, that type of thing. So things were being torn different ways even at that young age, to be fair.
Yeah. So the way you're feeling inside doesn't necessarily align with the programming you've been given. You know, you're a boy, you must do this kind of thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
If you're okay, Annabel, I'm going to read something. I'll read it at the end of the show, actually. It's an article I wrote for Canal Street magazine 2 or 3 years ago, and I think it's relevant to this show and specifically to this particular show. I was also very lucky as well. I've been on the Cud TV and Chewing the Cud show, and I've always been absolutely at ease and completely comfortable with women, men, lesbians, gays, men that are now women, women that are now men, trans of any kind. It's never really been a thing for me. I find it fascinating. And to be quite honest, I used to go to Mardi Gras and I used to get a lot of attention of trans, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why that was. Maybe bald because I had gruffly beard. I don't know. But I used to like it. Yeah. You know, it certainly didn't upset me. I just took it as a great form of flattery. You know, I'd flirt a little bit and have a bit of fun. And yeah.
Maybe because you look like Jimmy Somerville.
Ah, okay. I don't know if that's a compliment or not. I'm not sure. But the next thing that we discussed, Annabel, was you're on a school trip. You're 10 years old. And maybe tell us a bit about that.
We were set out to do things like map reading and things. It was a week away in a hostel in Wales. It was 1966 because the day we came home was the day England were playing in the World Cup against Germany. I'd missed all of that, but it didn't matter because I'd had a fun week away. And halfway through that holiday, if you like, one of the teachers said to me, if you continue to behave the way you're behaving, we're going to have to put a dress on you. And I don't know why he said it, but I was just, most of my friends in school at that age anyway, were the girls. I was always drawn to that sector.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I generally have more female friends than men now, generally. And I think a lot of blokes aren't comfortable with the femininity, that female side. And I could list people, friends and family, particularly, you know, family members, that if I go to hug them, they're not comfortable, men. And I have one hug, it's the same hug. Male, female, doesn't matter, it's the same hug. And it's not a sexual thing in any way. It's a love thing. It's embracing somebody and saying, I love you, you know, and doing it with touch. And as far as when I was at school, I know you're saying that, you know, the teacher said put a dress on, etc. You should wear a dress. I remember at school they used to say that if you were naughty, you know, the boys, they made you put a rounders skirt on or a gym skirt and go and play rounders with the girls. And that wasn't a joke. They actually did that, you know, as a telling you off. Yeah. And so I would intentionally get in trouble so that I would have to go and play with the girls, you know, play rounders. And I preferred rounders to football, always did. The next part is where you nick a bra, you steal a bra.
That was weird. We had one of our cousins staying over. Her family were in the army. They used to travel all over the world. And we had a chance where one of my cousins would come and stay with us. We had quite a big house because I'm from a big family. Unfortunately, sleeping arrangements weren't great. So my cousin was allowed to sleep on the bottom bunk and I was on the top. And she just said to me one night when we were in bed, what do you think of this? And I looked over the bunk and she had this blue and white gingham bra on. And I said, oh, okay, yeah, and went to sleep. The next day, I stole it. And she didn't ask where it was. She didn't know where it had gone. She just packed the stuff up as she was leaving a couple of days later. Bingo, I had a bra.
Yeah. I think when we talked about this, and just to be clear, anything we talk about, you're completely comfortable in talking about all this. Yeah. I never want to make anybody feel uncomfortable. But you said that you sort of coincidentally, whatever, but actually I've always had breasts. You developed breasts without hormones, without anything from quite a young age.
14.
Yeah.
14, there was small cones.
Yeah.
That was starting to show through.
So you sort of needed a bra anyway.
It was good timing.
Yeah. The next part of this is you're 14 years old And then you start going for the big guns then. You're going for the wedding dress. So tell us about that.
And my sister had been married about a month before this happened. She'd moved in with her husband. The wedding dress had stayed at my mum's house in a plastic cover, hung in my other sister's bedroom, hanging on the side of the wardrobe, and I thought, I'm going to try that on. I did. Everything went up and fastened, and I felt amazing, and my younger sister walked in. And I pretended to be a ghost and say boo.
In a wedding dress?
In a wedding dress.
Yes.
She ran downstairs screaming to my mum about what I was doing. I won't say my name.
Yeah.
I quickly removed it and explained I was being silly and just trying to frighten my younger sister.
Where, in fact, you wanted to put it on and, you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was mine.
I've worn a dress loads of times, and it started off with fancy dress. Whenever there was a fancy dress, like we had a pea party, so I went as a prostitute with a dress on. Any excuse to put a dress on at fancy dress, because I thought it was fun. I loved it. And it seemed to make other people uncomfortable, and I sort of got a kick out of that too, because it didn't make me uncomfortable. It never has. And then from that, again, I made no secret of it, that when I was younger, I partied and I used to take a lot of drugs, and that includes cocaine, ecstasy, lots of drugs. And we used to have parties back at my house. We'd go to a club, we'd go back to mine, and without trying to sound big-headed, but everybody wanted to come to my parties. So we'd go back to the house, and I'd actually got a collection of these dresses, and all the men had to put dresses on. And I'd get like big, lads on steroids, dorm, and say, all right, PJ, right, let us in then, come on. And I'd wear, you've got to put a dress on. And he'd like, what are you on about? And I'd say, if you want to come in here tonight, you have to put a dress on. So they'd like kick up a bit of a fuss, and eventually it was go home or put a dress on. So I had all these muscly guys wearing dresses in my apartment walking round off their head, and it was, a bit surreal really, but good fun,
Yeah.
But yeah, putting a dress on, it depends. I don't know. Different people have different intentions and motivations. For me, it's always been fun, and I don't see anything wrong with that at all. It's it's the programme we've been given, isn't it? That boys do this and girls do that, and I do what I want.
Yeah.
I didn't used to, but I do now.
For me, it wasn't so much the fun, it was the need. So it wasn't always with a smile on my face, it was,
Yeah.
thank God for that.
Yeah, this is it. There was a different intention behind it. For me, it was me just perhaps being the centre of attention as well and having fun stuff. But you were in a man's body or a boy's body, but you've got a strong urge, a feminine urge to put women's clothes on. You feel like a woman, which you are. At this point, I just want a bit of a joke, and we'd agreed as well that I laugh at everything. I think it's good to have fun. When you first sort of made a lot of trans friends, that when you went up, you didn't know whether to like fist pump, shake hand, hello, and you didn't quite know how to greet each other at first.
I didn't know what the rules were, or how do you go about it? Do you hug? Is that too familiar? Do you shake hands, or is that too male?
Yeah.
And we're all dressed in our finery and looking.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think a kiss on the cheek and a hug usually goes down okay, doesn't it? So.
Well, the kiss on the cheek tends to not be either, because we spend that long doing our makeup.
Then you mentioned, Annabel, that so you're watching telly with your mum, watching Danny LaRue. I remember watching Danny LaRue as well. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, around about 15 or 16 years of age, I didn't actually know that Danny LaRue was a male. But I just used to like the style and the comedy, and I thought she just had a deep voice. And it was only in the later years, I think my mum explained, or it may be my dad with a sarcastic comment, but it was only 16 years of age and I found out Danny LaRue was actually a male who was given a nod by the Queen to go and be this spectacular entertainer.
Danny LaRue always went for there's different ways of dressing, but was always glamorous.
Yeah.
A little bit overt, but glamorous. Big wigs, jewellery, nice dresses, this kind of thing. Which is that's my perception. Is you're the glamour. That's the way you dress, isn't it?
He wants everybody to see him in his finery or in her finery at that time. I just want to feel comfortable with clothes that the woman in the street would wear, without causing everybody to say it's a bit over the top or
No,
That's
definitely not over the top,
simple.
but I'd say glamorous.
Yeah.
I think that would be. What do you think, Sally?
100%.
The next part of your journey, Annabel, is so we've skipped on a couple of years here, and you're 18, and you. I'll let you tell the story, but you wanted to go to, I think, Liverpool to a bar because you'd heard about a barman.
We used to go into Liverpool anyway. I'm from that neck of the woods, and I'd heard that there was a bar where the bar person was a guy dressed as a woman, and I needed to go and see this for myself because everybody said, "Oh, that's great." It wasn't a gay bar, apparently, but none of my friends would go, and they give me hell because I'd suggested it more than once. So they were starting to get a few little ideas about me. You normal, you type of thing. And I was sort of, what do you want to go there for? Because they wanted to go and see young girls in tight clothing, which I also did want to go and see young ladies and that type of thing. But they give me a bad time over that.
How was it with your friendship? Because I'm assuming that if you started being a little bit open with some of your friends, it's not such a bad thing, because the people that don't understand or won't see you for who you really are will move away from you, and that's probably a good thing, isn't it? Because your real friends should embrace whatever you are.
Well, you say that, but when you're of that age and you're playing football with these guys and you're doing things week in and week out, drinking overnight, you don't want to suggest any reason for them to move away from you because you're so close. Now, my problem was, I was at fault thinking the way I think, and I know for a fact that they would not have tolerated me, and it would have been me that got pushed away. Yeah, because they'd have all rounded up.
I think as well, I mean, you go back 20, 30, 40 years, the world was a different place, wasn't it? Where I think now, generally, people are more understanding and people are more open. And, you know, even just something like, for example, being an unwed mother 30, 40 years ago, people used to try and hide that, you know, and didn't want people to know. And quite often the children would go and then be looked after by their aunties and things like this. And it was a big taboo. Now it's completely normal. Being homosexual, if you went back to the time of Alan Turing, it was illegal, you know, and they chemically castrated him. Now, no big deal. So
well, the same guy's a hero.
Yeah.
You know, for what he done.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that the world is sort of becoming, I don't know, more accepting, you know. It should already have been like this, but at least, you know, we're moving in the right direction. So you're moving on, and a year later, you're 19 years old, Annabel, and then you said that this is the point where you start to struggle a bit, because the way you feel inside, you can express it. And I talk about expressing yourself a lot, and if you don't express yourself, the term express is ex as in former, as in past, as in separate, and press as in pressure. If you don't express something, if you don't remove the pressure and you bottle it up inside, it will manifest and you'll become ill. You know, as human beings, we need to speak our truth, you know, and shine, basically. And if you're trying to suppress that, then it isn't going to end very well. And eventually, no matter what, eventually the truth always comes out. It has to. It has to. And so this is where you go and play a record in a bar, and maybe tell us that story.
I used to sing along to this record. At 17 by Genesee. High school girl. Didn't fit in. She wasn't the prettiest thing. She didn't wear the best clothes. But I knew all the words and I knew all the dance moves. And in our local pub, on the jukebox, there it was for the first time I'd seen it. I put something else on. I might have put something on that was a bit more popular and a bit more acceptable. And then the second record I put on was at 17, Genesee. And when it come on, and I was sort of like muttering the words to myself, my best friend got up and he said, "Who the effing hell has put that on?" I said, "Me." And he called me an effing weirdo. You faggot, which was the big word at the time. And he went over to the jukebox, he pulled the plug out, the record jumped, he pushed it back in, and somebody else's choice came on. And I lost my song, and we fell out. We drank a lot. We should have been going into Liverpool from there because it was our local bar. I didn't go. I got overly drunk anyway, drinking quickly. I went home, upset, angry. I put my cousins, bra on. I used to have a mustard-coloured silk shirt with a penny round collar, which was quite fashionable at the time. I put that over the bra and you could just about make out the bra under it. I pushed my motorbike out from the yard, and close to our house was a hill where we used to use for our steering carts when we were young children. And I aimed for that hill with the intention of ending it. That's how I felt on that night.
I find that very sad, and I'm very glad you're here today.
Yep.
Because I've talked about it. I've had points in my life where I've been suicidal as well, for very different reasons, but still at the brink of where the pain outside or in here is worse than the thought of death, and you just want it to go away. But all that over a bloody record as well, because, I listen to S Club 7 sometimes on the quiet, and the music you listen to, it's just crazy. It's just crazy,
To be fair, it wasn't just that record on that night. It was the build-up over the years.
Right.
And the realisation that my problem, if you can call it a problem, it was my problem that I had to deal with, was never going to go away. And that is the way my good friends will deal with me if I try to bring it out into the open. Yeah. I knew there was no way that was going to ever come out amongst my friends.
Well, the way you're dealing with it now, which is to embrace it, the people that love you, when you're happy, will love you, regardless of what you're doing. They want you to experience bliss and joy. They're the people, when you're happy, and that makes them happy, they're the people you want around you. They're the people that love you. People that, on the flip side to that, will tell you what to do. They want to impose your will, and if you don't fit into a certain box, then that upsets them. They become annoyed and angry and don't accept it. Then, it's a life lesson to learn this, when I've had to learn it, is that I don't want them in my life anymore. That, I'm better off on my own,
Can I just lighten up that suicide attempt with quite a humorous finish to it?
Of course.
At the bottom of the hill was a set of pensioners' flats with quite a high wall and a gate. I was aiming for the wall. That was going to be speed up, no stopping me now.
Yeah.
And I was going to hit the wall. I didn't have a helmet on, by the way, on this night. As I was getting halfway down the hill, a car come out from almost at the bottom of the hill, and it was one of my other friend's dad's car, and he cut me up. And I had the choice of either hitting him when he hadn't got up to full speed, or the curb. I scraped against the curb. He wound his window down in the olden days when it was by his arm turning a rotation. He called me all the names under the sun. I didn't achieve what I was aiming for, but one of the names he called me, I actually called myself after that.
Which is?
A frigging idiot. My bike was in good enough condition to get home with it. I'd scraped one of the wheels and the tyres. And when I went in, my dad heard the commotion in the back gate when I was putting the bike back in. And he come out and he called me the same name as my friend's dad and give me a whack on the back of the head. He didn't realise I had a bra on under the shirt.
Yeah.
And it was a lucky escape in more than one way. I come away with my life, and I come away with the fact that my dad didn't clock on. I look back on that day with strange feelings and emotion. It was a funny old period.
Right, we're going to get a little bit raunchy now, Annabel. And you're 25 years old and you get married, and you talked, and I'm going to let you tell us about this, but role reversal.
Yeah, that didn't come quickly. I think that came on the back of a song as well that my first wife was into, and it suggested that type of thing, and we did it.
So this is, she's dressing as a bloke, you're
shirt tie and one of my suits, and I think it was like if you look at it now, you could probably classify it as vintage, because it was like a high collar with a tie neck, and I loved that dress. It was the first time I'd worn anything of my wife's clothing.
Right. Did you, is she painting a moustache on? Is she pulling her hair back?
No, not at all. She was still quite feminine, and I just had some basic. I had quite long hair then. I was in the days when boys could have long hair.
So it's a role reversal of a tyre.
Yeah.
And if I can be blunt, do you sort of, is it role play as well? You know, is she pretending to, you know, you're doing a script where she's a man and you're a woman, or?
No, I think it was just the idea was we sort of like had a drink while we were both dressed like that, and then we had a bit of a laugh about it, and then we went to bed.
Right.
So there was no sort of like kinky domination sex or anything.
No,
it was
no.
just the fact that we joked about it. We said we'd do it. It was good fun.
Yeah.
And we had a good night's sex on the back of it, and she didn't question anything about it, or she didn't suggest we do it soon or any time again after that. But we did.
Yeah.
So it wasn't so like week after week after week. It was every now and then we'd give it a couple of goes.
So at this point, she doesn't know that that's your thing and that's how you feel inside.
No.
You're just doing it as a bit of fun at this point. Now, I didn't know about this place. It's in your notes. And it's a shop on Burial Road in Manchester.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about this place.
Well, I first found out about this place reading the Sunday newspapers, because without internet and all of that in them days, any advertisements for anything sort of like dating or whatever was always in the back few pages of the Sunday newspapers before the sports pages. And I recognised there was a Manchester number and a name of a road. And also added in the ad was the chance to do a change away weekend, which was the same number. And I was quite interested, and I felt I had to go and visit that shop because it was for transitioning.
Yeah.
Never thought anything like that would ever exist. It's quite an expensive shop.
I'm fascinated to just go and have a look, because I didn't know these places
It's still
exist.
there now. I believe it's still up and running now. Stephanie Ann Lloyd was the creator of the business. Unfortunately died probably about 2005, 2007 in a very sad farming accident, I believe, if my memory serves me well. She transitioned. Big name, big figure, done an awful lot for our kind, shall we say. Opened these shops. I think she also, on the back of it, opened Albany Clinic, which was a transgender clinic to go and have hormone treatment and put you into the line of what we called in those days a sex change.
Yeah.
I spoke to some trans girls in the shop one day there. They advised about Albany. Yeah, you should pay a visit. Didn't have a good experience with it because I felt they were trying to talk me out of it, which in fact they did. They came up with some suggestions to say you're 5'11", you know, you're quite tall, you got wide shoulders, big hands, long arms, you got all the traits of a man. Why do you think you would pass as a woman? Blah blah blah. And I listened and I sort of like agreed and felt like a freak. To be fair, I don't think they would use this sort of tone today. But it was good enough for me to realise that I have to make a decision. So I felt I was no longer going to look at changing my identity. My birth certificate says male. I'm a male.
Yeah.
I'll deal with it. I'll deal with it the best I can.
This is one of the reasons when we had the pre-show chat, which I thought was really pivotal in why we should do this show, and it's part of it's I'm learning. And I made assumptions, for example, that if somebody's trans, that they automatically fancy blokes, you know. And I'm completely wrong. That's not the case, and it's certainly not the case with you. And again, I just made that assumption. So that's why this is great, because I'm learning, you know.
At that time, Patrick, my children were 2 and 4 years of age, 2 daughters. I had my neck in a noose at that time. I really didn't know what way to turn. I was a dad. I knew I was a good dad. I knew I was a good husband. I was providing. I had 2 really good jobs. One was well paid. The other was fantastic, but it wasn't guaranteed. I was a drummer in a band. I played drums in several bands throughout Liverpool over the years. And I had to make a big decision. And I did. And I shut the door on me.
Right. So to be clear, you're not going to have the operation. That's not on the agenda for you.
No.
And you're attracted to women, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. See, that's great. I'm happy for this. The very reason that you're the guest on the show and that we did this show with you, because I'm finding out things that I'd made assumptions and I was completely wrong, and that's great.
Can I just say, Patrick, I
course.
thought there was only me in the world who felt like this. I thought everybody who felt they were in the wrong ID fancied the person of the opposite sex had they been given the right to be that other sex.
Yeah.
I didn't realise there was a lot of males out there feeling the same way as I feel, who are attracted to females still. I don't want to be attracted to men. I don't mind. I've got a lot of male gay friends, and I have a ball, I have a laugh. You know, you can talk a different language with them. But they also don't understand why I fit into this category and I don't like that category.
Yeah. Even in the trans community, you're exceptional, aren't you?
I would say yes, but knowing what I know now, I'm not.
You're not the only one.
No, there's
No.
lots out there. Lots out there.
This is the point then, Annabel, where you've decided you're going to close the door, and so you start doing weights, your bodybuilding.
I've always played football. That's a good standard. My dad wanted me to box and everything. It wasn't me. Played football, a good standard. Kept fit. I did drink a lot as a young man, but then decided marathons were all the go, and I decided to start going to the gym with one of my older brothers, who had been a semi-professional boxer, and we were pushing the same weights, bench pressing. He went like an ox, and I stayed the way I am. It just didn't work for me, but I felt very fit, toned, had all the adrenaline rushes that you get from a workout, which Sally will vouch for,
Yeah.
and yourself, of course, Patrick.
Yeah.
But it didn't seem to make my body turn into what I wanted it to go.
That masculine, muscly shape.
It didn't work.
No.
The muscles didn't come on. The facial hair still didn't come about.
I think this is, again, me putting two together, but with the fact that you naturally had breasts anyway as a child, and that the hormone balance in your body is not the same as another guy. You'll have more estrogen in your body, more of the feminine hormone, and that's why it's probably harder for you to, not to get fit, but certainly to have muscles, you know, to develop a muscular appearance, to build muscles, because you're feminine, naturally.
That's why I'm confused when I look in the mirror, because my mind is telling me it's the wrong image, but certain aspects of my body tells me you're halfway there. So, big confusion.
This, I put in the notes when I was doing the show notes here, and I put whoop whoop with some exclamation marks, and no disrespect meant, but at this point you split up with your wife, and this was the first probably time in your life where you could embrace what you're doing. You had space to do it, and you weren't sort of sharing that space with your wife, so you could express yourself, and you started to develop a collection of clothes and makeup and being Annabel whenever you want, really.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't Annabel then. I didn't know what my name would be, but I used a different name then.
Can you tell us what the name was before, or you just always stay with Annabel now? Or?
I'll stay with Annabel now because
Yeah.
it may be a giveaway, and I don't really want to cross
Of course.
the boundary. But yeah, it was like a weight had been lifted.
Must be like bliss, yeah.
I had to hide everything carefully because I was having my children staying around weekends, every other weekend, and one night in the week. So I had to pick and choose as and when. Plus, I was dating via an advertisement in a local paper.
Loot, by any chance?
No,
No.
it was actually the Liverpool Echo.
Right, yeah.
So it was probably on the same principle where you left a message in the Echo, there was a PIN number that you ring anyway. So
some people, when we talk about that, don't remember it. I remember it because it was in my, as I was growing up, there used to be these ads in the back of Loot, and you go in and there'd be like a voicemail thing. You'd ring it, leave a message, and it was all a bit hush hush, you know.
Well, it was quite good, but you realise then that women don't want to know about men who want to look like this. So you learn to pick and choose as and when you can do the dressing up, if you like. And for me, it was maybe every 2-3 every 4 weeks. When I could fit it in, the desire was always there to do it more, but the possibilities to do it were limited because of the children, overtime working, the odd date. You don't want to be going out with guy liner on.
Guy liner?
Yeah.
What's that, the remnants of eyeliner?
It's sort of like a punk thing, wasn't it, where
yes.
some of the guys would wear black lines on their eyes.
Yeah. I can see, again, I find humour in everything, and I can see the comedy a little bit in where you'd have like a year planner or a month planner, and you have to schedule in, you're busy that weekend, right, okay, Saturday, Sunday, I can dress up, and you have to factor
it
in.
Was like that. But I knew I had the freedom to do it as and when I needed to, so I wasn't in agony worrying about
it must
am I ever going to get time to be myself again. I knew I could
be
do
a
it.
release, because I know whatever the urge is, not necessarily the clothes you're wearing or dressing up or how it can be something completely different, but if you have this urge inside and you have to suppress it, it's terrible. It could be something as simple as I have the urge to go running. If I can't go running, I become very agitated, and eventually I become not nice to be around, because for me it's such a massive release, and I can imagine the feelings the same, that you have an urge and you want to express yourself, and if you can't, eventually you're not going to be happy, are you? You need to factor it in.
No.
Yeah. You then ended up, you got remarried, didn't you, Annabel?
Yeah.
Maybe tell us, I know from your notes and what we discussed that, again, Annabel was suppressed for a while, and that you're going into a new relationship. I'll let you explain,
We had an awful lot of things in common, and it was just so easy to fall in love with this lady. Beautiful, lovely woman, good frame of mind, good mother to her 2 children. All of our children got on. Annabel was stuck away by now. There was lots of things going on, when you meet somebody new like that, and it takes your heart.
Yeah.
It's never too far away, but you just know that there's somebody who is going to stop you from being yourself. And this was my new wife. She'd mentioned things a couple of times, and I knew I couldn't tell her. I was never going to disclose it. And it was difficult.
Yeah.
We had a lot of
You've
years
sort of
together.
taken a step backwards, although you've met this, a wonderful lady and you're in love and there's lots of positives. A step backwards where you've had a period of time where you can express yourself and be yourself, and then that sort of goes back in the box for a while, doesn't it? You mentioned, Annabel, that at this point then in your new relationship and you're married, that you're hiding stuff, you're hiding your clothes and things like this.
Yeah. After a few years, it never goes away, Patrick, and it never goes away, and you deal with it as best you can. So you're shopping around second-hand shops, you're finding something that you think it won't matter if it's screwed up, it's just the fact that you can put something on. I had jewellery, earrings, in drill boxes in the garage. It got to the point where I'd forgotten where I'd put stuff. I had a nice pair of slingbacks in my work haversack that I only used to take my lunch in, and my wife used to say to me, "It's a bit big for your butties, isn't it?" Had she have looked in there was a nice pair of shoes in there.
I was going to joke and say a pair of high heels, yeah.
Yeah, which I used to wear first thing in the morning while she was only getting up an hour after me, so that was a chance to have a little walk around. And
yeah, I joked in the pre-show chat saying that I had visions of you driving down the road and you get pulled by the police for something, and you've got these ladies' clothes tucked under your car seat, and they think you'd, just buried somebody or bumped somebody off, wouldn't they? When you try and tell them, no, it's fine, it's because they're mine.
They're mine. Yeah. Well, you may get a cop of the same frame who might say,
yeah. Can I borrow your shoes? When you hit the age of 52, Annabel, you then developed quite what seems like a nice rhythm, what I'd call a sustainable rhythm, where you ended up with a good job, you're working away, you're back at weekends, and it means that, again, you have the space to fulfill your needs and express yourself.
It was a lovely private place. Nobody was going to come and knock. Nobody was going to go into the bedroom. I had my working clothes. Obviously, most of my wardrobe, male wardrobe, was back at the family home. I was able to fill 2 wardrobes with items of clothing. Okay, some cheap wigs from Blackpool, that type of thing, £10 for a blonde wig that looked like candy floss, but it didn't matter. I used to come home from there, I used to go for a run, come home, tea, be myself.
Yeah.
Nobody was bothered. Nobody batted an eyelid. Brilliant.
You can just have peace.
It was.
Be
That's
yourself.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah. This next part of your story, Annabel, when I read it, I found it quite upsetting, and I'm going to let you tell it, but it's where you get death threats.
Yeah, whilst I was working away from home, problem on the motorway, we had to come off and go through Bury. And I noticed a shop that stayed open late on one night of the week. It was a beauty parlour. Nice big place over the road, had its own parking. And I just decided to stop one day and ask, would they do a makeover for me?
Yeah.
I would pay for the makeover, which was X pounds, and I said I'd even pay for the clean off. And the girl was absolutely fantastic in there, the shop owner. Took some photos for me, which was on a camera and not a mobile phone, which went out in, probably in them days. And I was having a great time going there. She actually allowed me to walk around the salon and make coffee and brush up around the hairstylist and things. And I was just living the dream. I could be myself. She'd made me look fantastic. The idea was primarily for makeup tips.
Yeah.
Because I was starting to need glasses and I was failing, and she gave me some guidance, which was great. There was a young lady working in there who I think she accepted me for what I was doing. But whoever come to pick her up after work, either a boyfriend or a brother or something, got wind of it and didn't like what I was doing. And I think he waited for the chance where he recognised my car was parked up. And after my makeover session, I went back to my car and it was blocked in, and this guy got out and he didn't want to see me here ever again. Called me all the perverted names under the sun. He was Asian, he made a racial remark to me and called me names I'm not going to say now. And worst of all, apart from being the racial comments, I'm even the worst of anybody to be doing what I do. And if he sees me there again, the world won't miss the likes of me. And I tried to be tough at this point and said, well, there's only going to be one winner here, isn't it? And he said, it's me. You're going to die. And I said, well, okay, well, we'll see. We'll see. But if you move your car, then I've got to go home now. And he did. To me, he was serious.
Well, I'll tell you 2 things. Number one is there are people like this in the world, and what you have to do, that frequency, you've got to block it out and don't listen to them, because the words coming out of his mouth are coming from a man with his heart full of hate. A fool.
Yep.
Secondly, the fact is that when somebody behaves like that, and they're aggressive, they're angry, the hate that comes out the heart, I see it, and they're overt, they're overcompensating for something. Mm-hmm. Now, if nobody's threatening me, I don't feel threatened by them. Mm-hmm. For somebody to feel threatened by somebody for just being themselves suggests that there's a frequency that resonates there that they don't like, that's hidden within themselves. Just like J. Edgar Hoover, he went round and, for example, he persecuted gay men. He was gay, but he was overt about it, over the top, and consequently, the idea of this action is to take the attention over there, and they overcompensate. And so I think that probably the irony is he's probably not comfortable with his own sexuality, has thoughts that he's not addressing, he isn't being true to himself. And I could go on, but I don't want to end up feeling how he felt for the hate, because if I was a younger man and I experienced something like that, I would have probably broke some of his bones, Annabel. Well, I'm not now, and I don't do that, but I would have hurt him.
I wrote his number plate down, his car description on his number reg. But I didn't go back there again because I rang the lady who run the beauty salon and I told her about it. She said, I had an idea there was something going on. She said, but the thing is, I don't want to get rid of this member of staff. She's quite valid to me.
Yeah.
And that was the end of that.
Well, there's other salons. There's other places to go.
I didn't need to go to another salon after that, but I do have somebody who does makeovers, absolutely fantastic transition makeovers. Am I allowed to advertise?
You can do what you like.
Gordon Fawcett, makeover rooms in Liverpool.
Yeah.
Absolutely phenomenal.
Just to be clear, we're not in any way getting any compensation for this, but this is, I'm very happy for you to promote this because it's something we want to talk about.
Well, he makes you feel the way you want to look. And when you look at yourself, the way he presents you to go out into the world, you can go out there, you can take the world on. For me today, I've done this quite quickly. I haven't got Gordon's expertise, but I know I feel better when I've been to see him than I would do today sat here.
I didn't realise, Annabel, that there's people that actually specialise in transformation, trans makeup. Yeah, that's fabulous.
Yeah, because there are some girls out there who try to do themselves who actually do look like drag acts, and they will tell you themselves, oh, oops, I've got that a bit wrong. Gordon will put you straight. He'll actually give you a masterclass and give you tips.
There's definitely a difference between someone that's dressing up as a woman, a drag act, shall we say, who generally look like a man dressed as a woman, and then men that don't want to appear like a drag act. They want to look like a beautiful woman, and you can see the difference from the intention. You know, you clearly, the way you dress, you want to look like a classy, beautiful woman. Other men, when they're on stage doing a drag act, they sort of, it's the makeup's over the top and things like this, isn't it? It's overdone so that it's very clear and obvious that they're a drag act.
Yeah.
Am I right with that?
Absolutely spot on, and they pull the waist in tighter than any woman can pull the waist in. It's not natural, but it's an act and it's fun. And
yeah, it's fun. I've yet to go to Funny Girls. I spoke to my partner Willow about it last year and the year before, and the number of times I've been about to go or wanted to go, and then something's happened and it's not quite panned out, and I'd love to go. I've just not managed it yet.
We should have been going on the first lockdown. Some of the trans group who I associate with, we've done Blackpool, we've done Lulu's Bar and all of that, and we were arranging for a table. We'd have got discounts, I believe, and we had lockdown.
Yeah.
So that would have been my first chance to go also.
Well, I follow them on Facebook and I'm in a couple of groups and stuff, but the first chance I get, anyway, I'm going, because the one thing with the lockdown is it makes you realise and appreciate things that maybe I took for granted, like being able to just do what I want when I want, you know, because things are open. And so when it does open again and when things are semi-normal again, I'll be there.
I might see you there, Patrick.
We might go together. Yeah. Well, Willow wants to go as well, so yeah, there we are. We've got a date.
There you go.
This next part it's quite late on in life, so you know you're in your mid-50s, and this is when your brother finds out.
It was a strange old do. We were at the Christmas last day at work drink in our local town, and it was late. Music was loud. We'd had quite a lot to drink, and I noticed the girl in a dress that I'd bought a couple of weeks before. And I said quite loudly to my brother, "I've got that." And he said, "What?" And I said, "Oops," and then told him. And he said, "Shut up, tell me tomorrow, you're shouting." So tomorrow came and I went round and had some photographs of myself as Annabel. And it was the biggest surprise of my life, because I thought I was going to have to go around here and grovel and plead and apologise, and it was totally the opposite. He was absolutely fantastic with me.
That's beautiful, the fact that, you know, obviously you're a bit anxious, and that he was completely supportive and understanding.
Yeah. And on the back of that, he was my older brother. He's the eldest of the family. I thought, well, if the boss says it's okay, all the other siblings then should be on the same page. So I set about clearing the air over the next few days, not by phone call, by knocking on the door and saying, there's something I need to tell you. And that was great. My family weren't happy that my wife didn't know at this point. And I said to them, I can't tell her because that'll be the end of it. Because I know she didn't agree with any of that. And it's now 18, 19, 20 years. And I could have told her all them years ago.
Yeah. Sometimes if you don't speak a truth, the longer the period of time goes, the harder it is to tell, isn't it? Because you feel bad.
Mm. Yeah. Well, that's what happened.
I know at first when you talk about something, an analogy I could compare to this is when I wrote the first book, From Pills to Peace, and it basically, it's a frank account of my life and some of the things I've done. And it was quite frightening at first because you can't take it back. And, I was apprehensive, I was worried, didn't know what people were going to say. But once you've gone down that road, I felt liberated. I felt fantastic. And it was sort of the turning point where I really stopped giving a shit about what anybody else thought. And that's a great feeling.
Yeah, I had the point where Mum wasn't in a good place. I'd booked to go to a trans social event with LFF, which is Leeds first Friday of every month. There's a big trans gathering up in Leeds city centre. I'd booked, hotel was booked, and I was going to cancel, and one of my sisters said, I think you'll be okay. You're a phone call away. I went because it was my get out. That's where I used to go to be my comfort zone. Also, whilst I'm there, I speak to others like me, younger, who are still in the balance of whether they should go down the total sex change route,
yeah,
or the gender reassignment. And I sort of like say to them, well, look at me, I'm at this age now and I've dealt with it the best I can. And I'm happy to say I've made the right decision. There's no going back. I've lost good friends, by the way, or friends who are now having mental issues.
Yeah.
They've gone down that route. It's not worked. And everybody to their own. But if I can just give a little bit of a slice of the way I've dealt with my issues growing up and let them know you can come out of it, have a think. And I was due to go on one of these events and my sister said, you go, and you're a phone call away, and it was great. And Mum didn't pass away that time, but I was there for her when she did go.
Yeah.
And that was a bad time for me because I don't show emotion, but everything was flying around my head at that time.
Now, this is quite staggering when I read your notes, because you said for your 60th birthday, and then I'm thinking, hang on, how old are you? What did you do on your 60th birthday? Now, obviously I know, and I know because I've seen the pictures and they made me blush. So tell us a bit about this.
I decided to go for a makeover photo shoot as a gift from the male me to Annabel. Nobody else was going to buy me that. I always wanted to do it. It was absolutely fantastic. I ended up with the full book. It cost a fair packet, professionally done. And whilst I was there, my name at that time wasn't Annabel. But the lady who done my makeup said I looked awfully like another one of her clients. She actually said I looked better. And her name was Annabel. And they could not look at me. The two girls, one done the hair, one done the makeup, and they fixed the clothing. They said they can't look at me without calling me Annabel. And I quite liked that. It was a little bit fairy tale-ish, cartoon style TV.
Yeah.
But it was better than the name I had previously. And I went with that. And that's been Annabel since my 60th birthday.
Yeah. I've seen some of your pictures, Annabel, and some of them are quite raunchy. You know, I mean, very, very flattering. They're very nice pictures.
Can I explain what happened?
Of course, yeah.
On the back of the first photo shoot, which was all quite nice and it was elegant and nice clothing and sat on chaise lounge and things like that. Really good. I was quite happy with it. The photographer said, "You've got a fantastic body. Would you consider doing a boudoir shoot?" And I said I'm a bloke, and he said, "Are you?" And he said we could do some great shots. So I went back a month later, and I had the boudoir shoot. You've seen them, Patrick?
Yes.
Yes, I'm also embarrassed, but I can't take my eyes off them.
Oh, don't be embarrassed.
I'm embarrassed that I chose some of them to show you, to show what's underneath.
But I think that's good, because when you sent the pictures through, you know, all the guests give me pictures for the show reel at the end, which we're going to do at the end of this show, by the way, so everybody gets to see them. But I think that's great to give me a broad spectrum to see, you know, the different shoots you've done. It's versatile. And I enjoyed looking at them. You know, they're great pictures.
I don't think they're tacky. I think they're quite classy.
Oh, no, classy, yeah.
And I look at them and think, yeah, that's me.
Yeah. Even with a pair of handcuffs in one of them, I think, as well.
It was the closing shot. She actually said to me, "Do you mind if I do this?" I always give the client the chance to say yes or no. But would you do it? I said, "Well, as long as you don't leave me in there and bugger off with my wallet," which was my main concern. And that was the closing shot, which is, again, it's, okay, you say it's handcuffs, it's quite classy.
No, it's a very classy photo shoot, Annabel. Yeah. This then opened doors for you, because this is maybe where you then hooked up with the other trans girls that you met in this group, and start of a new social scene, maybe?
Well, I wasn't on any social media or anything like that, but the girls who'd done the photo shoots suggested I get on Facebook so they can be my friend. And on the back of that, I was looking at other trans things then, because it opens a full new world. I didn't know anything about security settings or public outlets and anything. I didn't know. I'm not very savvy. But on the back of one of my daughters telling me, okay, if you're going to do that, you need to be aware of who gets to see.
Yeah.
And eventually just finding one trans in the same boat as me opens doors.
Yeah.
And you would be amazed how many out there are like me.
I talked about, before we filmed this show, that I'm very keen to do more shows like this. Very keen. And that you're in that area, you've got this network of friends now, trans friends and stuff, and I'm hoping that some of them may see this show, see what I'm about, and that clearly that in no way do I mean to offend or upset anybody. It's because I'm interested. I think it's a great topic. I think it's a good platform for people to tell the story as well. And I'd love, at some point, I'm hoping, when people see this show, that more people like you will come forward and that we can do more of these shows, you know. And you're the pioneer here, Annabel. You're the pioneer.
I'm pretty sure there's more colourful clients out there who would give you a better, more thorough, in-depth feel about how they've dealt with it.
Well,
there's some interesting characters out there.
I'm sure, yeah. But without you doing this, I'm hoping this will open some doors. But you're the pioneer. It takes one person to take that first step in faith, and you're that person. So
brilliant.
I'm delighted.
Well, fingers crossed it does open the door.
Yeah. In 2019, your mother passed, and I don't know if the consequence of that is because you're feeling low and you're not in a good place, but you then told your wife, didn't you?
Yeah, I wasn't in a good place. My two daughters were saying, she has to know. I didn't know how I was going to tell her. I didn't think I could get any lower than I was feeling at the time over the loss of my mum. And it just came out one Saturday night when we were sitting drinking wine with some nibbles. I don't know why I chose that time. We both cried. We both hugged. She wanted more explanations than I could give.
Yeah.
Blamed herself for not noticing. Then kicked me to death over how well I'd hit it and what a liar I'd been. I'd been going up to Leeds on nights out, Blackpool, Manchester, making other excuses, work-wise and what have you.
Yeah.
And I was. She thought I was gay.
Yeah.
Or actually, not gay, because we had a good sex life. She thought I was bisexual.
Yeah.
Didn't want anything to do with me after that, because she didn't know where I'd been, even though I'd been nowhere with anybody else. It was too late to take it back, like you said before. Once it's out there, it's out there.
Yeah.
And we just went downhill after that. And
Yeah.
I moved out.
I think from her perspective, she probably saw it as almost like you were having an affair with Annabel, if you're with me. This secret life that she wasn't part of, and I can get that. But at the same time, it's not like there's a third person involved. Although you'd lied, there's not another person in the relationship. It's just a part of you that you weren't ready to share.
We talk about it now in that way. She's having a nightmare. We're on the phone most days. That was probably her ringing before.
Yeah.
We have meals at each other's house, occasional stopovers. And she feels cheated because I'm getting the best of both worlds. And still can't get her head around it and can't deal with it. Cannot deal with it at all in any way. Doesn't get it.
You said that since COVID, now you're at home more, but you're on your own, so you have space. That I think, is it match of the day? Every time there's match of the day, you get dressed up in a different outfit and take a picture or something.
It's a shoe thing. It's a footwear.
Yeah, footwear.
And there's certain girls who have good taste in certain things. There's a London girl, Helen Essex, who does. She sits on kitchen worktops. Fantastic pose, and there's a full website now of at Helen Essex or something. She started something off many years ago doing that, so I've started a match of the day footwear thing. So it gets some laughs, and there's a few more joining in now and showing us what they're wearing for the night. Yeah. It's definitely not to play football in.
No, I think with what's the state of the world at the minute, and with COVID and things that are happening, that it's a great thing to have something else, another something that's fun, something you look forward to, something you can share.
Yeah.
I'm just going to ask you, Annabel, about your voice.
Okay.
And again, I made assumptions and I was wrong, and that's great because that's how I learn. But if I've met trans people before, or men that are in women's clothes, for example, anything like this, quite often they try to accentuate the voice and put a female accent on, and you don't do that at all.
No, I can't do it. It sounds bad.
I don't think so. I think it's your natural self.
Yeah.
I think the fact that you don't means that you are learning to completely accept yourself, and that might be the outfit you're wearing, but the voice. It again, even within this narrow window that you're in, this trans community, and where you're not gay, there's still variation where your voice is your voice, and you've accepted that too, and it's like a flower opening up and blossoming, where you just let the sun in and you be yourself.
Well, you can put mascara on or lipstick and it'll change the look of your face, but you try and put a different voice on because that's the voice that should match the face. Then it sounds wrong, and most of my trans friends are like that. We talk to each other about football, rugby, motorbikes, drums, guitars, nail polish, the size of heel you can dance in, and the voice is still the same. And there's those who are transitioning, who are paying money to have voice lessons, and they're sounding great. But I don't want to be stuck in halfway between where I'm neither here nor there. So you get this, because you do forget sometimes. When I did try to sound feminine, and then somebody pushed into me at the bar,
right? Hey,
well, you would turn around and suddenly you lose that softness, and when you want to make your point, you try to sound as macho as possible. Yeah. So a few years ago, I just decided not to go down that road.
I'm going to try and, just from my perspective, and this is why I think you're extra special, because you don't change your voice, you're completely you.
I'm at ease.
Yeah.
I just feel like, while I can present myself like this, I'm just happy to be able to be sat here out in public, if you like, even though we're in a studio, I'm talking to you. this distance away. I just feel on top of the world at this moment.
I'd say to everybody that there is one thing in the world that everybody is the best at. They are the world record holder. They are the world's best, and that's at being themselves. And when you learn to embrace your divine nature, listen to your true voice, shine your light, and be yourself. At that point, that expression of you, there is nobody else that can do it better. Annabel, thank you very, very, very much for coming on the show.
Patrick, thanks for making it so easy for me.
It's
been a pleasure to be sat here opposite you answering the questions.
I'm absolutely delighted that you came on. Brilliant. Honestly, you've made probably my year. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, well that goes both ways. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, folks, thanks for watching. This has been the Midnight McBride Show, show number 64. I'm now going to quickly read you an article I wrote for Canal Street magazine about 3-4 years ago, and I think it's relevant. The article that I wrote was called Spirituality and Gender. And the opening statement is, the way I see it, if you're LGBT+, you have already climbed several rungs up the spiritual ladder. Let me explain. You see, from the moment we arrive in this world, it begins. We are being programmed. Now, this isn't done with malice. We are simply being given the same programming that has been handed down to us from generation to generation. Most people just repeat the negative thought patterns and processes without even questioning them. This is given to us by our parents, teachers, and the rest of society. We are defined, categorised, labels, and put into a box. Well, I, for one, don't fit into any box. The moment we try to define ourselves and give ourselves edges, we become limited beings. This stunts our growth spiritually and hence our potential. We are actually limitless spiritual beings with unlimited potential. We were meant to constantly expand, evolve and grow in every direction. You see, most of us go through life defined by others and hence limited by them. Like it or not, we become dependent on the good opinion of other people. We are given an identity and then spend our time trying to fulfill it and fit in, making decisions based on financial gain and born out of obligation. No, no, no. Stop. This is all wrong. The most important job you have in this lifetime, while you are briefly visiting this realm in this spacesuit we call a body, is to be happy. That's right. You heard me correctly. You need to practice self-love and put yourself first. Now, don't go thinking this is a selfish pursuit. On the contrary, this is the first step down the road to fulfilling your dharma. This is your life's purpose. This is making decisions based on what makes you feel good and then using this as your new life compass to navigate towards inner peace, joy and bliss. Only when your cup is overflowing can you really begin to help others. You can then go about your day giving out this energy to everybody you meet. After all, you can only give what you have inside. If you're experiencing joy and bliss, you are then able to go out into the world spreading peace and love. You can't go and harm anyone else when you have a mind full of peace and love, and nor would you want to. All the wars in the world would cease overnight if everyone learned how to self-generate these feelings from within. Through a regular practice of meditation, we all have the potential to do this and experience inner peace, and I can show you how. So you see, your happiness is of paramount importance and by no means a selfish pursuit. So back to the spiritual ladder. For most of us, when we approach middle age, we start to feel that something isn't quite right. We go through what I call a spiritual awakening. You can also call this the shift, a midlife crisis, or a nervous breakdown. One morning I just woke up and realised that I was miserable, suffering my own thoughts and that everything that I'd been told was a lie. I had an epiphany, or a satori. This is a moment of enlightenment, a brief glimpse of the universe as a whole and experienced the oneness of all things. I had a realisation that everything was connected, and for the first time in my life I had clarity, contrast and perspective. I then started to see that the programming I had been given was all wrong. For example, men don't have to be macho, and expressing your emotions and feelings isn't silly or soft. It isn't any wonder that the rate of suicides in young men is so high, conditioning them to suppress their emotions. Well, this is why, if you are LGBT+, you are already partway up the ladder, inadvertently transcending your bad programming. In order to be part of this community, you have likely already addressed many of these issues to some degree, Most of you realised that the identity you were given did not match your true nature. You had to listen to your inner voice and became aware that you didn't fit into the gender stereotypes that you were given growing up. You also realised that you are unique, special and perfect, just exactly the way you are. Once you know this, there is no turning back. It is a one-way street. Connecting with your true self and following your Dharma is then the only way forward. Fuck their programming labels and definitions. You are you, and nobody else can ever do it better. You are the best in the world at this endeavour, and you always will be. You are top of the class. Now is your time to shine and to let the world know who you really are. Refuse to be defined and labelled by others. There are 7 billion people on this planet, and we are all connected. We all have universal energy flowing through us and seeds of divinity within, each a perfect creation. In fact, we are all made of stars, every single one of us. You are the best at being you, and you always have been. Refuse to be anybody else. Don't even try. In short, when you embark on a journey of self-discovery and start down the path of a spiritual awakening, being LGBT+ is a distinct advantage. Peace, love and light, Midnight McBride. And I'm going to use a quote here, and it's not one of mine, but I use it in the book, and it's William Shakespeare. And it's simply this: to thine own self be true. Just be who you are. Be honest with yourself, shine your light, listen to your true nature, the voice inside, follow your Dharma, and sing at the top of your voice. This has been Midnight McBride. You can catch this show every Monday and every Thursday on YouTube. It then goes live as an audio podcast 3 days later on Amazon, Google, Spotify, Podbean, iTunes, and about 10 others. You can buy the book From Pills to Peace on Amazon in Kindle and paperback. You can also buy it in a host of other places, and you can get the audiobook on ACX, Audible, and iTunes. You can go to the website, midnightmcbride.com. You can catch the radio show, the Mind, Body and Spirit Show, every Monday night on Salford City Radio, 94.4 FM, at 11 p.m. till midnight. You can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn. I hope you've enjoyed the show. I'll see you next time. Shalom.